Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be going over every single vehicle that is inside of my garage within Redline. I did a video like this over a year ago where it was just 11 of my imports, but in today's video we're going to go over all of my vehicles. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure you leave a like, comment and subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, and enjoy the video. So to begin with, we have these three vehicles here, and we're going to begin with this one here on the right. So this is the Benefactor Scarman. It's the first vehicle I bought in Redline when we moved over to Redline V3. I bought this vehicle at PDM. It is one of the law-friendly vehicles. This vehicle I've had for a while. I sold it and then bought it back. And yeah, that's the Benefactor Scarman. It's not really too much impressive. It's a very beginner car. It's just one of those cars which I don't want to sell because I've had it for so long. Here we have the Bravado Gauntlet Classic Custom. This is the vehicle I've owned the longest in Redline. It's the second vehicle which I bought after I sold the Benefactor Scarman. This vehicle was at one point one of the fastest vehicles I owned. It used to be able to do 160 with the old tuning stuff that we used to have. And yeah, this thing used to kill supercars, so I gave it a nickname of the Supercar Killer because it was really fast. Now we move on to one of my more obscure purchases, the BF400. I bought this vehicle because I wanted a bike which could go off-road, and I didn't have a bike. That's all there is to this bike. So, behind me now we have another three of my law-friendly vehicles. So, on the left here we have the Yoga Classic. So here on the left we have my Yoga Classic, which I have engine swapped with an LS. So I put the 5.3 litre Chevy LS into this thing. I've also modified it to look like the Mystery Machine, so we'll just give this thing a little bit of a rev. It's very loud. It sounds so good though, that one. So, here we've got one of my more obscure vehicles. So, this is a Vapid Winky. Now, bought this vehicle when you had to go to KO to get them. This is when you had to swim over to KO Pico, and you went and got them over there. I do want to engine swap this vehicle, so if any of you have an idea for an engine swap, put it in a comment down below. I'm thinking either a Hemi or like a Elephant in this. If you have any other ideas, put a comment down below. Here we have the Nasagasi Outlaw. This thing is just great off-road. Like, you can take this thing off-roading at Mount Chiliad, or in it through dunes, like over there. And this thing will just take anything that you throw at it. It's versatile. And yeah, it's a very fun vehicle to take out off-road. Alrighty, so, behind us we've got some more of my law-friendly vehicles. So, this is a Vapid Sandstorm. This is based on like a Ford F250, F350. I've currently got in a camper spec, because the last time I used this, I want to go and do some hunting. Now, second vehicle we've got here is a Vapid Tandem. This is a vehicle which was in the 1940s event, if any of you remember that. This was the starter vehicle which I bought during that event, and for some reason I haven't sold it. This is my quad bike, also known as a Blazer. These are very rare, they're not in PDM anymore, and yeah, I just like this thing, I like messing about with it. I bought it when Harmony used to be where Flywheels is, to mess about with in the dune in the back. Now we have the Dinka Enduro. It's a new like off-roady street bike which came in at PDM within the last restock. So I bought it and I wanted to mess about with it. It's a very nice bike. It's just broken at the minute. This is the Tri-Bike 3. So this is a bicycle. Obviously. It's a sports bike. I don't use this, but have it. This is an inductor. So, the cool thing about this bike is it has a boost mode. So when you're pedaling and you press E, you get boosted slightly. It gives you a bit more of a speed boost. It's quite fun. Very fun. It also does bunny hops. Now, we're going to move on to the next lot of vehicles. Okay, so behind me we have my Japanese plus my KTM vehicles. So on the left here we have my 2010 KTM. It's a dirt bike. It's fun. It's not my favourite thing in the world. I just like it. It's quite fun to off-road with. Next, we have probably one of the coolest but also weirdest cars I've bought. My Nissan GTR R34. So I won this car in a raffle at Woodland in Polito, and as soon as I bought this car, I was offered to sell it. Obviously I didn't, that's why it's here. But this car, I've put the legendary RB26 engine swap in. So it sounds how this thing looks, and I love this car, I love how it drives. Next, we have my Nissan S15, or Nissan Silvia. This car is one of my drift cars which I have. It's fun to just slide about in. Now, this is my favourite Japanese vehicle I own, just after the GTR. My Kawasaki KPZ, lots of numbers. I bought this bike in the 1980s event, and this thing is rapid. Like, when I say it's rapid, it's very fast. During the 80s event, before I got my Bronco and vehicles like that, I dailied this bike because of how easy it was to get around Vice City on. It's one of the best purchases I've made in Redline, just for ease of usability, for getting in tight spaces. It's a really fun bike, and for that, we're going to wrap up this section of the video. Alrighty, so these 4 cars here are my 4 Lamborghinis which I own. So, we have the Lamborghini Countach, which is a car I won from PD. I won it in an MU competition for most hours in MU. I love this car, it's stupidly quick, and it's pretty good. Next, we have the most expensive vehicle I've ever bought in Redline, my Lamborghini Aventador SVJ Mansory kit. So this car costs 1.5 million. It is the most expensive car I own currently in Redline, as recording of this video, and it's such a fun car. It also sounds really good, and it's really fast. Next, we have the first ever S-Class car I bought in Redline. This is my Lamborghini Murcielago LP670-4 SV. This is another really fun and great standing car. I use this car a lot for doing donuts, because it's got like a rear-wheel drive bias. It's such a fun car to just mess about with. And then finally for the Lambos, we've got my Lamborghini Urus, which I have engine swapped to have the TFSI 4.0 litre V8. So this is the engine from the Audi RS6, which the Urus, the Porsche, and the RSQA all share the 4.0 TFSI V8. It's a very cool collection of Lamborghinis I got here. Now, I'm going to move on to the next lot of vehicles. Alrighty, so here in front of me we have my 2 Ferraris which I own in Redline. Now, I bought these cars because I wanted to have some fun with them. So, this car here, the green one, this is what you lot who watch the streams will call the Pickle. This car has a Cummins in it, and it is such a fun car. It annoys a few people because it has a Cummins, and you put a Cummins in a Ferrari. But come on. You can't argue that this sound just suits this car. It doesn't suit the car, but it's what Ferrari should have put in it. They definitely shouldn't have put the V12 that it has. And then we've got this weird convertible Ferrari. I'm not sure which one this is. I think it's a 212. If any of you know, comment down below, because I don't know what this is. I bought it from Mecca because, yeah, right. Now, we're going to move on to the next lot of vehicles. Alrighty, so, these cars in front of me here are my British cars in my collection. So, we'll start off on the left here with my favourite of the bunch, my 1959 Mini Cooper S, or, as it was known at the time, an Austin Cooper S. Here, next, we have my Land Rover Range Rover. I believe this is a 70s one. Here we have is my Aston Martin Superleggera. Here we have is the first ever import which I paid for in Redline out of my own money, my 2020 Land Rover Defender. So, one cool thing about this car is, it has the 5 litre Coyote V8 in it. Now, I put this engine in because we couldn't get the AJ33 V8, so I thought I'd go for the next best thing, and since they're very similar engines with their displacement and that they're both V8s, I went for a Coyote. Next, we have my Bentley convertible. I believe it is a Continental. So this is the Continental GTC convertible. It's a very fast car. It's not as fast as my Aston over here, but it's still a very fast car. Next, we have my Aston Martin V8 Vantage from the 1970s. This car is the newest addition to my collection, and it's like a British muscle car. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Next, we have 2 more minis. So we've got my 2010 Mini Cooper John Cooper Works, and my 1959 Mini Cooper S, or the Austin Cooper S, with, because I like to keep my cars standard, a big old V8 in it. So this is the TFSI 4.0 litre V8, the same one which I have in my Urus, which you'll have seen earlier in this video. And yeah, these are all of my British cars. Now we're moving on. So behind me here, not in size order, we have my Mopar vehicles. So starting here on the left, we have my 2021 Dodge Charger Hellcat SRT with the 6.2 Hemi engine in it. Here we have, is the only vehicle here that hasn't got the engine swap in, is my Diverty Design Jeep Wrangler. I love this thing. I keep meaning to buy an engine to put it in it. Every time I do it, I buy a new car and I forget about this. I will engine swap it at some point. Here we have is my Dodge Ram TRX 1500 with a 7 litre, yes, 7 litre Elephant. This is one of my newer Mopar vehicles I bought. And yeah, I absolutely love this thing. I've not driven it an awful amount, but it's so fun every time I take it out. Next, we have my Dodge Durango SRT with, yet again, the 6.2 Hemi in. So, the goal for this car was, I wanted to make a Durango Hellcat. This is before I learned there was actually a Durango Hellcat in real life. So, I got a Durango SRT in Redline, and I put a 6.2 Hemi in it. Obviously, it's not got the Hellcat logos on, it still says 392. But I like to think this is like my Hellcat, my Durango Hellcat. Now, moving on to the next lot of vehicles. So, this next car, we're going to go over very quick. This is my Mercedes-Benz 6x6. So, obviously, I think we all know what a Mercedes-Benz 6x6 is. It's a G-Wagon. This is the V8 bi-turbo. I engine swapped it by putting the M155 5.4 litre V8 in it. I wanted to know what the engine was like, so I threw it in this thing. Now, I love this thing, it's fun when I take it out, but it is very difficult to drive on the road. You cannot drive this car round a corner without it sliding out. But besides that, it looks the part, it sounds the part, and it is the part. Just here's a little rev of this thing. It sounds so good. So, for all of you that say my cars are only green, you're wrong. These three here are the example which argue against that fact. So, first off, we have a Corvette C1. So, I painted this car in a similar spec to how an old friend of mine from Redline V2 had theirs, Pastor Scott. Here we have is a Lincoln Zephyr. So this is a car I bought from Mecca, which used to be Fox's old car. I don't really know what to do with this and swapping it. Have some fun making it a drift car. Here we have is my Hudson Hornet. So I made this car like Doc Hudson from the film Cars, before obviously the race livery and all that. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I like this car. I drove this a lot during the 40s event. Here we have is another Corvette. I don't know which Corvette this is, it's just another Roadster. This is another one of Fox's old cars. And yeah, this thing's nice, I've drove it a little bit, it's not my favourite car. Here we have is my favourite vehicle I bought in the whole of the 40s event. The white WC22. This thing is so cool because you can tow a trailer with it, and it is the only semi-truck that we have in Redline that you could buy from a dealership. It is so cool, I love it. Every time I pull it out, I go and find a trailer to go and attach it to, and I just go and drive it about with a trailer on. It's such a fun vehicle to drive. It's a unique one to own as well. There's only 2 of these in Redline. So, here behind me, we have all of the Model Ts, which I own in Redline. A Ford Model T, Henry Ford's best-selling vehicle. So, this is the 1912 Ford Model T. This is a Ford Model T Roadster pickup. A Ford Model T Touring. This is a Ford Model T Roadster. This is a Ford Model T pickup. As you can see, it's got a little pickup bed there. This is a Ford Model T 1927 Touring. This is a Ford Model T Tudor. Now, if we just jump across the Tudor here, this is a Ford Model T Roadster from 1927. This, as you might have seen before, is my Ford Model T ice cream truck. Now, I like this ice cream truck because it has one thing really cool about it. it has FD on the license plate, which, either depending on how you like to determine your words FD, Fire Department, or Formula Drift. We will be engine swapping that thing at some point. Here we have is the Ford Model T Coupe and the Ford Model T 4-door. Now we're going to move on to the next lot of vehicles. So here behind me we have all of my Ford Model A's which I own in Redline. So we're going to start off with the 1903 Ford Model A Modified. This is the oldest car which you can get in Redline in age. This is a 1903. Here we have the Ford Model A Tudor Sedan. Here we have the Ford Model A 4-door sedan. And then over here we have the Ford Model A pickup. As you can see, it has a pickup bed. And then the Ford Model A Deluxe Delivery. Now, this one, it's just a delivery van. It's got stuff in the back if we open it up. You can see in that. This you can put stuff in the back, like cargo and stuff. And then these two look pretty much exactly the same until you count doors. And yeah, so that's going to be it for all the Ford Model A's. So, here we have in front of me are a bunch of my 1940s Fords. So, to begin with, we have the Ford Club Coupe, which is this thing here. Here we have is the Ford Custom 4-door sedan, because it has 4 doors and it's a sedan. Then, as we run over here, we have the Ford F2 Standard. Now this car, my original plan for this car was, I was going to turn it into like a retro mod, a resto mod car. So I was going to throw a big old Cleveland in this, put it on some nice wheels, and I was going to use it for just cruising about in. I am still going to do that at some point, when I remember. Here we have is the Ford F6 4x4, so it's a lifted version of the standard car, which we also have here. They're pretty cool, the flatbeds. I've not messed about with them much since I bought them, back in the 40s event, however long ago that was. But I have some ideas that I want to do with these, so we definitely will be doing those. Now, as we move over here, we have the Ford F1s. So, I'll go over these quick. Ford F1 Standard, Ford F1 Standard 4x4, Ford F1 Deluxe, Ford F1 Deluxe 4x4 with an EcoBoost V6 in it. So I'll give that one a little rev. I also have a standard non-engine swap version of that car as well. Here we have is the Ford Deluxe Sedan. Now, similar to the other car over there, it's another 4-door Ford, it's a sedan, and it's a deluxe, so it's pretty cool. Here we have the Ford Mainline 4-door sedan. This one's just your typical Ford Mainline 4-door. It's similar to the other two over there, having 4 doors. But yeah, it's pretty cool as well. That is going to be it for these cars. So, now we move on to some more cars. So, we're going to start this section off with the 1964 Ford GT40. Now, this is one of my favourite cars, which I've bought in Redline. It's an S-Class car from the 1940s event, and it was such a difficult car to track down that I overpaid on this car. And do I care? No. Moving on, the 1965 Shelby Cobra. I love this car. It goes so well along with my GT40, because obviously the whole story of Carroll Shelby, basically making both of these masterpieces. I love the Shelby Cobra. Awesome. Now, moving on to my favourite vehicle, which I bought in the 1980s event. Now, earlier, I know I said it was the GPZ random numbers things. That is tied for number 1 with my 1980s Bronco. This Bronco, I've spec'd it essentially the same way which I had mine in V2. So, yeah, it's just got that nostalgia factor. Now, we've got my Ford Bronco Wildtrak. I forget I own this sometimes, but I really do need to start using it. It's very fun to drive when I've driven it. Now, my favourite Ford pickup truck that I own, my Ford Raptor. This thing has helped me make so many thumbnails just by being a great tow vehicle. You can put so much vehicle behind this with tow ropes, and you can just tow for days with it. It's so useful in that factor. Now, my 1978 Ford F-150. I want to do stuff with this. I want to do like how I've got the 1949 Ford F1 Deluxe 4x4, which you'll see earlier in the video. I made that into essentially like a modern Raptor. I want to do something like this with this. Because I think if we can turn this thing into like a modern version of this, then we've got 3 from the different eras. That'll be fucking sick. Now, we have my Ford Sierra RS Cosworth. This car is good, I like this. Besides, it has one very glaring issue. That ain't the right engine. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this car. I want to put an engine swap in it, since it's not got the right engine in anyways. I just don't know what engine swap to put in. Might put a Coyote in it, might the Escort. Now, 1964 Ford Thunderbird. As you'll see, this car hasn't been well maintained. It has no doors. It's not my favourite car I own, it's not my favourite Ford. It's not my least favourite car, it's not one which I drive a lot. I've got it because it's a Ford. If it didn't have the Ford badge on it, probably wouldn't have this. Now, moving on to the Ford F100. This is another sick one. Can I get a front of it? Yeah, I think I can. This is another really good one. I've not driven a lot of this because it's not got the speed which the rest of these have, but it's another fun one to drive when you do pull it out. It's an old Ford. What can I say? I like my old Fords. Now, the 1984 Ford F-150. I prefer my 78 F-150, but this is another fun one to take out and cruise about in. It's just another fun one to go and take out. A lot of these vehicles are bought in the 80s event. Some of them are bought after the event, and some of them are bought before the event. But I love them all. Now, moving on. So, here we have all 4 of my Ford Escorts. So, we've got my original Ford Escort here in the middle, my Ford Escort RS Cosworth. This is the one which Elite bought me. Elite used to operate Harmony. This is the import I've owned the longest, it's technically the first one which I got. And yeah, this thing it's my original Escort. Now, we've got my second Escort, which I bought, my other Ford Escort RS Cosworth. This one, for those of you that don't know, has my Coyote in it. So this was the first Escort, I believe, in Redline, which was engine swapped. So I threw a Coyote V8, and yeah, I trailed it down from the dealership, the Harmony, to go and throw that in. Now, we move over to my other Ford Escort RS Cosworth. Yes, I have 3 of them. And this one also has a Coyote V8 in. You won't be able to see it at the moment because the bonnet's broken, but it does have the Coyote V8 in. It does. Now, moving over to the Ford Escort Turbo RS, or RS Turbo. This car's another 80s event car. I've not done much to this, it's just basically a standard car. Now, moving on to the next lot. Here behind me, we have all of the Mustangs which I own, so this is probably the collection of cars in Redline I'm known best for. They're having one of every Mustang in Redline. So here they all are. So, here behind me, well, in front of me now, we have the 2020 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. This is the fastest Mustang that you can get in Redline, it does 140. Here we have the first Mustang I bought, my 2018 Ford Mustang GT. Now we have my rarest Mustang, my 2024 Ford Mustang GT. Now this car isn't rare because it's the 2024 Ford Mustang GT. It is rare because it has the license plate of Import 1, as you can see there. It's probably one of my better well-known cars which I own. Here we have is my 2024 Ford Mustang Dark Horse. So, this car's got a good sound to it. All you need to know about that car. The 1965 Ford Mustang Coupe. I believe it's a GT. Let's have a look. Yep, it is a GT. Oh, no, it's not a GT. This is the Ford Mustang Coupe. Oh, no, it is a GT. So, 65 Mustang GT Coupe. This is the 1965 Ford Mustang GT Fastback. This is, I believe in the last video where I did a car update, this is one of my more favourite vehicles that I listed in that one. my 1967 Ford Mustang GT500. Now, during my time in Redline, I've owned two of these. I had one with an Eleanor kit on, which I sold, and then I traded in this one, which is the second one which I've had. Here we have is the 1969 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. So just like that car and the one at the front, this is another GT500. Bought this one during the Redline 80s event. I haven't played around with this one very much. Here we have is the 1968 Ford Mustang GT390 Fastback. It's a very long name, this one. I don't know why its name's so long. It just has a really long name. This car, I like this car. It looks nice. Engine bay looks very nice in this one. It's just a very nice looking car. Here we have is my favourite of the lot. My 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1. Now this car's my favourite because of the engine which I've put in it. So this is the Cleveland, the 5.8 litre Cleveland, the 351. This car has a really nice chop noise. So I'll give that a little turn on. Like, yeah, this car sounds so good. Now moving on to one of my least favourite ones, the 1970 Ford Mustang Coupe. Now, I don't know why I don't like this one so much, but it could be to do with something back here. Now, another 1970 Ford Mustang, but this one's a fastback. This one's a little bit nicer. Well, it's a lot nicer because it's the fastback. The 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1. This is another one of my favourites. I like the Mach 1s. What can I say? Now, my least favourite of the bunch. My least favourite Mustang. The Ford Mustang Fox Body. Now, as you can tell, all of the other ones are painted in various shades of green. This one is not. The reason for that is, I just don't like this car. So, these vehicles here are more of my, like, I don't want to be recognised vehicles, besides these two, or vehicles which I just bought because I wanted to buy them. So, here we have is the vehicle I bought, so I don't really get recognised. So this is my Panto. Don't know why it's a Panto, but it's a Panto. Here is the Renault Twizy, my Formula 1 car. This is the one with the big old Cleveland V8, and if we go and fire it up, this car's so cool. I love this. This is one of them purchases which I just made in Redline when I was like, yes, I want something stupid. Here's my forklift. I bought this at auction. I paid way too much for it. It's the 200 grand forklift, as I think I've said a few times on stream. But I put a rotary in it. And the only thing I like about this, sounds pretty good. This is a Rattel, so this is a big off-road trophy truck. I bought this because I saw Ari's, and I liked it. It's fun. And on that note, that is going to be the last lot of cars. So, the next part of the video you're going to see is my favourites from each category. So this will be Super, Sport, 4-door, and Stupid. And maybe some more categories thrown in there. Alrighty, to conclude today's video, we're going to go over what my favourites are. So, my favourite bike is the Kawasaki GPZ 900R. My favourite project car that we've got in the collection is the Escort RS Cosworth, the one with the Coyote in it. Obviously, because it's the one which I put the Coyote in. My favourite muscle car is my 69 Mach 1 with my Cleveland in. My favourite supercar is my Aventador SVJ. My favourite Grand Tourer is my Aston Martin DBS Superleggera. My favourite rally / small cars, my Mini. Favourite SUV is my Urus. Favourite off-road car, now this was a hard one to pick, but I'm going to go with the Wrangler on this one because it's probably the best one which I've got for off-roading. My favourite sports car is going to be the Cobra. And yeah, that is going to wrap up today's video. So, if you have enjoyed today's video, make sure you subscribe, leave a like and comment down below. And as always, see you next time. Bye-bye.